year-old state of emergency. A reminder for our breaking news from Libya. Heavy gunfire has been heard piercing through the Libyan capital, Tripoli. A government spokesman has told our correspondents that the bursts of machine gun fire are celebrating success against anti-Gaddafi fighters in other parts of the country. Well, State TV also showed pictures of tanks, armored personnel carriers and other weapons it says were seized on Saturday from rebels in the city of AlJazeera. But witnesses told AlJazeera rebel forces there were able to repel heavy government assaults on their positions. Opposition fighters continue to cling to their stronghold of Benghazi. The head of the newly formed interim council tells AlJazeera it's pushing for international recognition soon. And a worldwide effort is underway to repatriate foreign nationals fleeing the violence in Egypt. Pakistan has over 18,000 workers in the country, and the government is facing criticism over its handling of the evacuation. Kamal Haider has this report from Islamabad.
This might be the first time these Pakistani oil workers come back home empty-handed. No presents for the family and no wages. Despite having lost everything, they're grateful to be home. Stranded at the airport for days and without food, many shared their experience of the ordeal.
The situation was very critical in Libya. We were lucky enough to save our lives.
While they praised their local Libyan employees for helping them leave, they've complained their own embassy did little to help.
We are very happy on our soil, but the government of Pakistan has done nothing for us.
Pakistani embassy officials maintain they are working with the local authorities in Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt and Turkey, and officials have been dispatched to the Libyan border to receive its citizens. As Pakistan joined the long list of countries to evacuate its stranded citizens, there's criticism abound that government is doing too little too late, offering sympathy but little support to some 18,000 Pakistanis still left behind in Libya. Kamal Haider, AlJazeera, Islamabad.
And back in Libya, there have been reports of gunfire. Let's go back to our correspondent who is in Tripoli, Anita McNaught. Can you tell us more?
Well, it goes far beyond reports of gunfire. I can confirm that for at least the last hour now, we have had sustained and multiple forms of gunfire right across the central city. I'm right down by the waterfront. The city is behind me. As you can see, dawn is just beginning to break there. We've heard every sort. We've heard machine gun fire, we've heard pistols, but we've also heard the much deeper noise of something at something much larger caliber. I'm told they think that anti-armor piercing, some kind of armor-piercing munitions are being used here. Now, I state this because what I'm being told officially by the Libyan government sources that look after AlJazeera here is that this is a celebratory outburst of enthusiasm by Tripoliites because in the last few hours or overnight, they retook the towns of Misrata, Ras Lanuf and Zawiya. But the use of the much heavier caliber guns, the fact that I've heard and seen many police cars screeching off to go somewhere, I don't know where, and the fact that there are not any people visible on the streets from where I am, but a lot of cars moving, suggests to me that this is not entirely a celebratory event. Although I have to say that earlier on, about an hour ago, there was fireworks over Green Square. Those fireworks I've seen before. They appear when the people or when the government believes there is something to celebrate. So there may well have been some strategic gains overnight by the Libyan government, but that is not the whole story here in Tripoli this morning.
Anita, put this into context for us. You know, as you were saying that in other areas like Al-Zawiya, there have been running battles in Benghazi and other areas. Tell us about what rebel activity has been in Tripoli itself.
It's been extremely subdued. You had the night about 2 weeks ago where, to the government's intense surprise, large numbers of Tripoliites came out onto the streets in various suburbs around the city to protest causing a little local damage. We then understand that after that point, and certainly from what we've seen here, that the protests have been very, very sporadic, opportunistic and subdued. The protesters have come out at night, disappeared during the day. We also understand from people we've spoken to here, people that AlJazeera has spoken to from Doha who've spoken to people here, that ever since the uprising by civilians in Tripoli, ever since the disturbances began in Libya itself, Libyan secret police have been steadily rounding up people from the districts that are considered to be trouble areas, brothers, uncles. They've just disappeared overnight, knocks on the door. 2, 3 people have been taken by large numbers of security cars who just appear. Now, most recently on Friday, that was set down as a day for protest. We were expecting to see some kind of demonstration. In the event, what happened, and you saw it on your TV screen, I don't know if you can hear that, but some of this gunfire is actually quite close to here. That a comparatively small number of people came out, maybe at the most in the area of AlJazeera, not more than 200 people, and they were surrounded and outnumbered by security people and also the pro-Gaddafi supporters, who they also tend to butt in as counter-protesters, who arrive as counter-protesters the moment there is some kind of protest action here in the city. Most of the time the city's been extremely quiet, shops shut, people not on the street in any normal kind of number. It's been a very nervous, very tense city.
Anita, what's the flow of information been like? How are people understanding or finding out what's happening around the country?
It's a very good question. The flow of information here, free flow of information, has not been good. Libyan state TV, of course, has continued broadcasting. It says what it says, but the internet has now been cut for more than 2 days. Mobile phone services are extremely bad. Sending text messages has also suddenly become, in the last 2-3 days, extremely difficult. So the ability of ordinary Libyans to network, to communicate with each other, and of course, as we know from the uprisings in Tunisia and Egypt, all of these were extremely dependent on internet and mobile phone communication. The ability of Libyans to talk to each other rapidly and discreetly has been largely curtailed. It's made life difficult for us too, as well, as you would expect. And of course, with people not out on the street, those who are out on the street are conspicuous. So again, the ability of Libyans to pass information between each other must have been hampered. Where are they getting their information from?
Anita, I'd like to get your gauge on what's happening, because from the outside, what we see happening is sporadic battles here and there, towns being taken, towns being given up. And what it seems like, it's going to descend into just a long-running standoff per se. How does it feel there where you are? Does this seem like something that could come to a head?
Well, Tripoli gives you a very weird sense of what's happening in Libya, because things have been so eerily quiet here. The security presence has been so intense. The government, I think, appreciated that if things were to be seen to be going wrong in Tripoli, that the Egypt-Tunisia pattern would be one that was ready for repeating here, and that's something that they've been absolutely determined to prevent. I mean, the reason we haven't seen protesters in the Tahrir Square equivalent of Tripoli, which is called Green Square here, is because on the first night that there were spontaneous protests in Green Square in Tripoli, there were also snipers mounted, we are told,